Don't tug my ascot, but don't pull my ascot. No, you can't have my ascot, 'cause girl, that's mine. It's so divine. No, you can't have my ascot, 'cause girl, that's mine, mine, mine.
All right. What's up, everybody? We are live. It's that time once again. Welcome to Kiss Meets the Podcast 4K, the Crazy Kiss Countdown. You wanted the best. I am one of your hosts, Eli Clausen.
And I am that one guy that throws stuff sometimes. Here's a notebook. I don't know. Actually,
all right. So back to the normal flow of the show this week, as we promised. So we have another great game in store for you here. No, just kidding. So now we hope you guys did enjoy the games. We will do those again down the road. And Space Ace Ron right away. What's up, buddy?
How's it going?
So we are back to the normal discography. Going to go ahead and get all the way to the finish here in the next, however many weeks that we have left of it. So this week, of course, is Alive 4, the Symphony concert. So hell of an album to get back into this. This is like 21 songs, worth of material, a lot of different stuff, of course, and always kind of fun to revisit this concert. To be honest, it kind of grows on me the more I listen to it, and it's kind of weird because I'll just wait and get to that more towards the end, which is why it feels weird for me to say that, but. Yeah, so what's new? Anything?
Oh, geez, I don't think so.
All right, yeah, I don't know. Kiss World, I guess we finally heard about the announcement for the A&E documentary. I don't think we discussed that last time. So we have the biopic coming on Netflix, and then we have this 2-night documentary announced for A&E, which is supposed to be the big documentary that we've all been waiting for, kind of in the style of, the Eagles documentary. It's obviously going to be a long one, splitting it into 2 nights. And I think from what I heard, it's supposed to air in June, but I'm not 100% on the dates, if that is true. But I feel like I heard sometime in June. So definitely looking forward to that. We're finally getting some good, new Kiss material to be able to view and, add to the collection of all those other legendary videos. And hopefully these become, just as important and, popular amongst the fans. And, we want to watch them again and all that stuff. And on top of that, the shows are supposed to be back this year. So hopefully we're going to get that Kiss concert later this year as well. So, even though we're probably not going to get an expo, it sounds like it's going to end up being a pretty good year for Kiss overall, as far as the stuff for the fans and the shows, and we got that bootleg series thing starting up that's coming out on vinyl and CD. So sounds like Kiss is finally kind of packing a lot in for this year for all of us fans. So pretty excited about it. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I'm glad to see that they seem to have done something with all that downtime. I mean, might as well, why not start breaking open the vault and taking a look at what they have to put out there rather than just having dead silence, basically.
Yeah, because if I'm not mistaken, had COVID not had happened, like here in a month or two was supposed to be the original end.
Yeah.
Like June or July, if I remember right, of 2021.
Yeah.
So that's kind of crazy to think. Like we could be sitting here at this point, like, wow, Kiss they're getting ready to wrap it up, doing all that discussion. But thankfully, it's been prolonged a little bit. But we do know it's still coming. But I've grown to accept it more at this point. I mean, yeah, it's still going to be a bittersweet moment to go to that very last show, but it is what it is, and it'll live on. So
absolutely, I think in a I want to say it was a recent interview. Just fairly recently, I read again that Tommy Thayer has kind of reiterated that this probably isn't actually the end of Kiss. It's just that it's the end of what they've been doing for most of their career. I think it's still entirely possible that this is really more just the end of big tours.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I could very well see it where they just do like special, festival dates every now and then, or maybe a residency every now and then, or who knows? Maybe they'll do a more stripped down, unmasked type thing again. Who knows?
Right.
Who knows right now? I mean, they could still go for that whole 2.0 thing that they talked about. Hard to say. I think it really lies in Paul and Gene's, decision at the end of the day. And I don't know. I mean, but as of right now, a lot of good stuff coming. And Ronnie in the chat said, yeah, heard about a new Eric Carr doc as well. Very true. Thanks for reminding us on that, Ronnie. I did hear little rumblings about that. So something else to be very excited about. It's been, I can't even remember when the Tale of the Fox came out, but I know it's probably been at least 20 years or so.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure I was still living with my parents back when that thing came out. So, and God, I didn't think about it, but this year is going to be the 30th anniversary of Eric's passing. So, crazy to think 30 years. So I guess now's no better time to get that doc out than the 30th anniversary of his passing. And, so I'm sure more will be coming down the road for that as well. And I'm pretty excited to see what happens. So, all right, well, let's get back on board here. And I know we got a couple weeks of the poll stuff to catch up with, and then we'll get back to our usual thing here, get into the album.
Yes. All right. So if you guys are longtime viewers, of course, you already know all of this. But if you are a first-time viewer, we run big old tournaments over on our Facebook page. There is nothing we seem to enjoy more here at Kiss Meets the Podcast than pitting Kiss songs against each other to see who will win. If only there was a Mortal Kombat game that was Kiss songs. Anyway, right now we are smack in the middle of our live song tournament. So if you head over to Facebook and search Kiss Meets the Podcast, you can like our Facebook page, and that would be awesome. Also, we have a group, Kiss Meets the Podcast group. This is pretty much specifically for the polls. For some reason, Facebook disabled posting polls anywhere other than in groups. So if you want to help vote on these tournaments, just request access to join that group. We approve everyone, so don't worry about that. We will get you in there, and we want as much feedback on all of these as possible, as many votes as we can get. And don't worry about jumping in the middle. Any time is a fine time. Just jump right in there and tell us what song is your favorite. So
it's all right now, time.
That's right. That's right. I got some results here from last week's. We're about midway, well, a little past midway through round 2. This tournament's going a lot faster than the studio album tournament, seeing as how there's a lot less songs.
True.
So we're about, I think next week I'll be posting the final 6 or 5 or 6 rounds for round 2, or matches, I'm sorry, for round 2. So results in from last week, we had Going Blind from MTV Unplugged versus Plaster Caster from MTV Unplugged. Going Blind took that with 67% of the vote.
Yeah, I like that. I agree.
We also had Rock and Roll All Night from Alive 3 versus I Want You from Alive 2. And I Want You takes that with 84%.
Thank God.
Hard Luck Woman from Alive 2 versus Take It Off from Alive 3. Hard Luck Woman takes that with 68%.
I don't agree with that one.
No, I am consistently disappointed anytime I see anything from Alive 3 taken out.
Especially when it wasn't even a truly live performance on that song either.
Mm-hmm. We also had Nothing to Lose from Alive versus Firehouse from Alive. This one was pretty close. Firehouse took it with 59%.
I don't know. I still kind of don't agree with that either.
Right. I definitely had mine on Nothing to Lose. We had Black Diamond from Alive versus Detroit Rock City from Alive 2.
Ooh, that one's super tough.
Yes, absolutely. Black Diamond takes it with 68%.
Ooh, wow.
Yes. And finally, as far as results, we had She from Alive versus 2000 Man from MTV Unplugged. One poor guy voted for 2000 Man, so She takes that with 96%. So good on you, whoever had the balls there to go against the grain.
Yeah. I guess either way, Ace wins on that one.
Yeah, it's very true.
That She is pretty much all about his solos.
Yes. Okay, so right now you can jump over to the Facebook page and jump into Kiss Meets the Podcast group. There are 6 brand new polls you can vote on right now. Those matches are I Stole Your Love from Alive 2 versus Hotter Than Hell from Alive.
A little tricky there, too.
Mm-hmm. We've got 100,000 Years from Alive versus Got to Choose from Alive.
Yeah, I know where I go on that.
Right, yep, me too. Detroit Rock City from Alive 4 versus Sure Know Something from Alive 4.
You know, after listening to that album fresh today, that my pick was different from what I probably would have picked from the get-goes. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I can agree. I voted on this before I listened to the album today, and I can assuredly say I wish I could change my vote.
Yeah.
We also have I Still Love You from Alive 3 versus Beth from MTV Unplugged. Shock Me from Alive 2 versus Love Gun from the Millennium Concert. That's our laughable matchup for this week. And then finally, Creatures of the Night from Alive 3 versus Creatures of the Night from Kiss Rocks Vegas.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I swear to God, if you people don't pick Alive 3.
Yeah.
I'm going to find y'all.
Yes. Well, yeah, historically with the live tournament so far, the Vegas concert has been pretty shunned. So I would imagine that that has no chance.
Yeah, that and Millennium have kind of been the redheaded stepchildren so far. But
right. And with pretty good reason, at least for Millennium.
Yeah.
All right, so that's what we got going on for this week. Like I said, next week let me look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, next week will be the final 6 matches for round 2, and we'll be continuing on with that. I have had an idea for an additional tournament once this one wraps up. I'm kind of rolling around in the brain, so no worries if you're just now coming in. Again, don't worry that we're right in the middle of it, and also that this one is going to go a little quicker. There will be plenty to vote on.
Yes. Oh, and real quick before I forget, no show next week because I will be out of town. So I will try to remember to say that again at the end of the show. So, but again, the polls will still be going up, so be sure to get those votes in for that. So sorry, but no show next week.
All right, so some album info for you.
All righty.
Excuse me, good Lord. All right, so Kiss Symphony, Alive 4, is a 2003 live album from Kiss featuring the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra. Also, the arrangements were made by David Campbell, who directed the orchestra. David Campbell is he's done a whole lot of this sort of stuff. He's one of the big names in arrangements and directing.
And I remember I think it was the last time we did this album, which this information feels so fresh now, that I remember we found out that he is actually the father of the superstar Beck. Not Jeff Beck, but
right.
Beck, you guys probably know who Beck is, Loser, all that stuff, where it's at, very, very talented musician, very creative. So that caught me off guard like crazy. I remember when we found that out last time.
Yes. Yeah, I completely forgot about that as well. But just clicking on his Wikipedia page and just kind of going down the albums of songs and albums that he's done arrangements on, just absolutely insane.
Beck, I hear you calling. How
Yeah.
ironic.
Yes, he has done an absolute ton of stuff. So they picked a good guy to get on there. This album was released July 22nd, 2003. A single disc edition was released then October 7th, 2003, which cut several of the songs. Kind of sucks a little bit. The concert itself was recorded on February 28th, 2003. So this, unlike the other Alives, was not something that was recorded over several nights and then they picked the best ones.
Right.
This was recorded at one concert, and the CD is presented in exactly the way they recorded it as well. The set list also wasn't messed with. So that's a first in the Alive chronology, at least.
Very true.
Speaking of firsts, this is also Tommy Thayer's first official Kiss album. He had essentially just joined Kiss so recently, in fact, that in interviews where they talked about this, they were still saying they're pretty sure Ace is going to be on this. And then at the last minute, Ace left the band, so Tommy was introduced. Now, this wasn't Tommy's first performance. As we know, the Jamaica shows were the first to introduce both Tommy Thayer and Eric Singer, but then we kind of did some weird flip-flopping back and forth.
Yeah, I agree with Ronnie. They're saying, what Ace would have looked like back in that Alive costume. Because I do remember that. I was going to say this later on, but since it kind of came up now, I'll just go ahead and spit it out. I feel like I remember when I heard the announcement that they were going to do this thing, I feel like there was still that possibility of like, ooh, Ace could be involved,
Right.
This would be awesome. The original four, it's almost like this is meant for the original four, doing this symphony thing. It would, the perfect scenario, but unfortunately it didn't happen. But
right. This concert also happened during the Kiss Aerosmith tour, which is actually why Peter is present instead of Eric Singer, as the contract for the Aerosmith tour required them to have 3 original members.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, like, at what point of the tour they did this. Like, I can't remember if it was before or after I saw them on that tour.
Right, that is kind of interesting. I mean, this particular show definitely was not a co-headline with Aerosmith, so it must have been them kind of going off onto their own little thing for a second.
Mm-hmm. And I remember, I believe it's even on the DVD. There's they had appeared on one of those like talk shows that are over there in Australia, and did a couple small performances even on that. So you kind of get a couple extra bonuses, even though I believe they're some of the same songs that are on the show. It's just kind of a little different version, and I believe they had like the small ensemble with them on that show.
Right. Now, there's also a really interesting kind of mix-up considering Alive 4. Now, this interesting to me personally is that I actually remember this. This is one of my first kind of Kiss memories, not involved with going to a show or anything, is that we heard, hey, Kiss is going to be doing Alive 4, and then we just didn't hear anything for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And we just kept hearing little pieces. I wonder when Kiss is going to do Alive 4, and we were hearing this and that about it. And turns out, as we now know, Kiss had recorded the Millennium concert, and we're planning on releasing that as Alive 4. And the album ended up getting shelved. This apparently, according to Wikipedia anyway, had something to do with label politics and contracts. But they got so far as to release the Alive 4 artwork and even put a version of Rock and Roll All Night, the Millennium concert version, on the box set, listed as being from Alive 4. And then it got shelved.
Yeah, that was the first time we got to hear any audio from that show after waiting. I believe it was a couple of years at that point.
Yeah.
Because they kept, we're recording the New Year's Eve show. It's Alive 4, blah, 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 blah. And it would have had a cool significance because it was, literally going into the year 2000, and that would have been kind of cool. But after they did finally release the show, we kind of understand why they decided not to go that route and made the symphony thing the Alive 4. And it is what it is. And, it was kind of cool getting, at least Rock and Roll All Night on the box set at the time. So it was kind of like, oh, something we've never heard before. And, there was other things on the box set at that time too that were new to my ears. But, so then you kind of realize why.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad that they made the Millennium concert, or no, I'm sorry, not this. I'm glad they made the symphony concert an official Alive, because it's just such an oddball. It was such a special event. It deserved that kind of significance. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's like, I can totally look past the whole, repeating of songs that are on the other Alives, because it is so different. I totally do feel like it's a whole different experience. It would be one thing if it was just the bare bones live recording like Millennium, and then you got all those repeated songs yet again. Yeah, I probably would have had a bigger issue, but for this one, it just doesn't feel that way. They all have that different sound and feel, and there's a lot of first time things on this show too that I never expected at the time. And lost your video.
Dang it. I had become confident that we had the answer.
The answer. Now,
Yes.
some reason my camera's off whack now. Okay.
Yes. So as we'll get into when we get into the songs, of course, they performed 6 songs, just Kiss, and then they came back out with a small symphony ensemble and did a few more songs, and then they did 10 songs with the full symphony orchestra, which was kind of an interesting choice, that they didn't just kind of go with the whole orchestra the whole time, but that was their thing.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. I kind of like that idea. It just kind of it kind of made it extra special by the time it got to that point of the full orchestra, and you kind of got that little taste of because it kind of like those first 6 songs you get the basic Kiss style, and then all of a sudden they bring out the ensemble and you get a little more added to these songs, and then all of a sudden with the orchestra you're like, okay, now there's a lot added to it, and now I see what they were doing, what the plan was.
Right. All right. So as far as personnel, pretty straightforward this time. We got Paul Stanley, vocals, rhythm, guitar; Gene Simmons, vocals and bass; Peter Criss, drums and vocals; Tommy Thayer, lead guitar and backing vocals; and then we've got the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra, Mark Opitz producing, Tony Wall engineering, and David Campbell, of course, being the composer and conductor. Another interesting first for the Alive series. This is the first and only Alive not produced by Eddie Kramer.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know why they chose to do that. This did get up to 18 on the U.S. Billboard 200. However, it has not been certified. Now, it was certified gold in Canada, but it has not been certified in the U.S.
And I'm not sure, and this really isn't a big deal, but I'm not sure, but I feel like this may have been the first release on the Kiss Records label as well.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
When they went to Sanctuary as well.
Yep. Wikipedia did mention that as well.
Mm-hmm. And you gotta mention. I mean, although the cover art itself, is pretty bare bones, but I tell you what, they did a hell of a job with all the artwork once you open it up, though. I mean, the gatefold thing, some amazing shots. Like on this vinyl version, each inner sleeve has all kinds of cool color photos printed on each side.
Yes.
I remember the booklet and the CD and the DVD being kind of the same. And I love that Rock and Roll Over Beethoven thing that they put on the CD and the label of the vinyl. That is so cool.
That was funny. This was also the era where Paul Stanley was using his Apocalypse model guitar, which I always liked. I've actually got one of those.
Yes.
I wish I had a cracked mirror one, but I've got it tattooed on my arm too. That's kind of weird.
Nice.
Yeah, oh, there it is. Yeah, the Apocalypse model. It's cool.
All right. So let's get into this monstrosity here. All right. So, of course, as mentioned before, these first 6 songs are just the bare bones Kiss show. So we start off with Deuce. And this is my number 2. I've always loved this version of Deuce too. Obviously the Alive version, Alive 3 are probably 1 and 2, but this one's definitely a close third for me. Just always enjoyed it. The fact that this concert starts off with that low hum like you hear when you're there, that helps kind of set the mood already. It always kind of gives me goosebumps every time hearing it. It just kind of pumps you up just hearing that. And then when it goes into Deuce, it's just like, and I felt like they performed it really good on this version. I think Gene sounds good on it. They just all sound good. I like the sound of the drums. The just sounds nice and crisp on here. So yeah,
samples tend to sound like that.
I don't know what you mean, but yeah, just a version of Deuce that probably doesn't get enough love, and I've just always enjoyed it since the first time I've heard the show.
Yeah, I've got this one at number 16. I'm not going to lie, all of the non-orchestra songs are at the bottom here, so so we're going to be getting that out. I particularly like the production for this. It's not my personal ideal production, but it works, I think, for this. The guitars are really nice and big, and the vocals are really clear. I do feel like the drums are a little muffled. Or maybe they just needed to be turned up a little bit more. I don't know. They're definitely not as clear as they were, say, on Alive 3. But it still has that really nice, fat, big, it feels like you're at a concert. It doesn't feel like they pushed any of that live out of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, other than that, just a straightforward version of Deuce,
Yeah, we were talking before we went live, like this album is so hard to rank because because of those 3 different sections that it almost kind of felt like we should have just ranked each section in its own way, but it probably would have just made everything too difficult to try to figure out a final tally or anything. But so yeah, these are all jumbled. So we go into Strutter, much like the first Alive. Number 18, yeah, basically like what you just said. It's just pretty straightforward version of Strutter. Not too bad. I mean, it is what it is. Yeah, straightforward.
Yeah, that's that's practically my only note for all 6 of these.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really, go much further. I mean, we're not here to nitpick every guitar tone or things like that. We're not gonna pick it that far apart. So
Right. Yeah, 19 for me on Strutter. Heard the song a million times. Here begins my. Just personally, I kind of wish they had done the orchestra for the whole thing. I just feel like why we've heard this. We've heard this. It's cool to watch. I like watching the DVD. Then you get the visual. It all makes sense. I can watch those a million times. But hearing this, I was just like, oh wow, they're playing Strutter again.
Right. And again, it's like, oh, just like Alive, I could have just put Alive on to hear that, those songs back to back.
Right.
So then we go to the song that closes the first Alive, but now it's third on this one, Let Me Go Rock and Roll, 15. I do like, the way they play it on here with that, that whole extended solo thing and, all that stuff before it breaks down to that bass and drum thing and, all that stuff. Definitely different from the Alive version. So, kind of cool to, being that this is, I guess, the first time we got an official live version of the song since Alive that, there is those differences, at least that way. So does kind of make it kind of cool. If you wanted to play each version, you're going to hear something different, at least.
Yep. 21 for me on this one. Again, it's just the straightforward. And this, as you know, it's not really one of my favorite Kiss songs anyway. So
Right.
I was just kind of particularly like, yep, it's that song.
All right. Look it up. 17. Yeah, just I'll just let you take it because I'm pretty, I'm sure we both agree on the feelings when it comes to this type of thing.
Yeah, yep. 18 for me as well. Peter playing Eric songs.
Yeah. Oh Lord.
Now this one, I feel like he does okay. To me at least, he certainly performs this song better than Forever, and I think it's because the drums in Lick It Up are generally pretty straightforward, even when Eric played it.
Mm-hmm.
So Peter's style didn't really take that much away from it. This song in particular, for me, I really wish they would have put this one in the orchestra section. I would have loved to have heard what an orchestra would have done with this. And it just brings to mind that it's like, man, this is just such for the most part, this is such an obvious Kiss set. And that's fine, but having the orchestral element on all of the songs would have been the thing to set this version of these songs apart from any of the other ones. Why would I ever choose this version over Alive 3? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Unless I'm listening to this album as a whole, I will never listen to this version of Lick It Up on its own.
Yeah. Kind of interesting hearing, Peter's background vocals on it. Does give it a little different feel. Again, with the Alive 3 version, it is nice to hear the old way that they would do the breakdown instead of the whole Who thing that they've worn out nowadays. So it's always kind of fun to hear those older ways that they played it. But yeah, I agree. The symphony, like especially on that, the say if you want to call it a solo, the I could just hear the strings going along with that, and
yeah,
that would have sounded awesome. So who knows? All right, Calling Dr. Love, number 20. Again, another pretty straightforward version. Nothing special that happens or anything that makes it stand out, or nothing too like cool that I felt was different or anything like that. So straightforward, just a lot slower than Alive 2.
Yeah, good Lord, yeah. Yep, 17 for me on this one, and yeah, it's literally word for word. My only note on this one is straightforward. I mean, it's a good version of the song, not special. It's just good. Yeah.
All right, and then we finally wrap up this first batch here with Psycho Circus, which was still kind of a shock to me at the time. Like, wow, they threw in Psycho Circus here. 14. I felt like as far as Peter goes, he played it better on previous tours, like the Psycho Circus tour, because I noticed right away he was doing some different things on. I believe it was like towards the solo section or something that he played it the right way on like the Psycho Circus tour and other things, but yet he changed it or forgot or something, and I just didn't really like the way he played it on here, and it kind of took away a little bit from that part. That was really the only main gripe I had.
Yeah, completely agree. This one's number 20 for me. Much as I wanted to be excited about seeing this song that we haven't heard a million times at this point.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that he didn't really mess up the beginning fill, but he plays the snares later than they happen on the recordings and how they've played it for years, and it felt like he didn't mean to do that, and that annoys me. And then just like what you said, I really don't care for how he played that whole middle section at all.
And very weird that they basically closed the set with this song. I mean, because they obviously took little breaks in between each section. If anyone for some reason hasn't seen it or heard it, but so yeah, kind of weird that they like closed with this song out of all the other ones that they pulled out. And yeah. So next up is what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we got 5 songs here where they bring out the ensemble. So we start off with Beth, which again I was like, oh, kind of cool. We're doing Beth early in the set like this, and we're not saving it for the very end like they usually do towards the end. Let's see. I gave this number 8 actually. To be honest, this is it might be my favorite live recorded version of Beth. To be honest, the Alive 2 is what it is, but to me it's not the greatest sounding version. The unplugged thing's kind of cool. It's not bad. But this one I just felt like was a little better. I think also the fact that it had a little bit of acoustic and stuff, I believed in it. And I know one little funny thing is I'm pretty sure on the DVD that Peter misses his cue on the beginning because I think he kind of walks out a little late or something. And then when he sits down, they basically just start it back over, if I'm not mistaken. But obviously they edited that out for the album, but it's still kind of a funny little moment. But yeah, I don't know. I thought he sounded great on this one, and it just felt like, I'm feeling like it's my favorite recorded version, live recorded version right now.
Yeah, no, I can totally get behind that. This is number 6 for me. I feel like this is a true live version of the song in the same way that Let Me Go Rock and Roll on this is like the recording from before. This is a live orchestra. So Alive 2 for me, never liked that version because you might as well listen to the album. His voice sounds better and it's the same backing track. MTV, you're right, it was very interesting. I love the arrangement they did on their guitars. But this, yeah, I really love hearing this with the live orchestral sections. I'm glad David Campbell changed up the arrangement just a little bit too. So that it's not exactly what's on the album. It really gives it a unique feel. Yeah. And there are parts where Peter's voice feels strained, but it's not horrible at all. I mean, the dude was almost 60. Yeah. And then not only that, but thank God he started singing the Just a Few More Hours part right again. I freaking hate how he was singing that through the 90s. So I was really glad to hear it sing, quote unquote, right here, sung. Jeez.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's see, we got Steve's and Rochelle's picks.
Oh, cool. I will put those in real quick. That is going to take a minute, though.
Yeah. But, I was going to touch on something else with this one real quick. Forget now, but yeah. Oh, well, moving on. So we go into Forever. Number 12. I'll definitely hand this one to Alive 3 at least when it comes to the performance. Paul, definitely doesn't sound as good on here, but still a lot better, in hindsight from what we have nowadays, I guess, unfortunately. But again, it was cool. Like, oh, good, they're giving that nod to that era and pulling out this song because it only fits like completely perfectly with this whole section of the show, being half unplugged but with the ensemble basically. So it's kind of cool. Like we're like in a way sort of getting a reenactment, not a reenactment, but let's just say like another version of like the Unplugged in a way. But then we had the ensemble with them too, so that was another thing I liked about this little 5-song set here. For the Forever thing, never been I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of the way Tommy plays it versus obviously Bruce being the guy that wrote it. Just doesn't do that solo justice. Just something the way Bruce plays it is so much better. So that's about it for that one.
Yes. 15 for me on this one. The orchestra bits are cool. I really like it. I like what they add. And I hate to say this, but this version is killed by Peter for me. And it's not just because he wasn't the guy that played on the recording. There are parts of it that aren't bad, but it's just too static. It takes away the dynamics when he doesn't do fills into the other sections or change to the ride cymbal for the chorus. Some of these fills in the original version of this song are some of my favorite work from Eric Carr. And naturally, Peter jumps over him, whether he could remember him or whether he physically wasn't capable of doing it. Either way, it's cool to see Peter agreeing to play songs that weren't from his era, but unfortunately, he just doesn't quite do it justice for me personally.
Yeah, definitely cool because it's kind of like, it's almost like he owes it because, Eric obviously didn't have any trouble playing Peter stuff. He wasn't against it. And let's be honest, I'm sure he might not have had a choice when it came down to it, but I'm sure he totally enjoyed it because, he was a big fan and all that. But, so yeah, it was kind of fitting that, Peter returned the favor and, cause we do know that him and Eric had, they were friendly and, they had met and all that stuff. So it's not like there was weird, any weird vibe between them or anything. So,
right.
But yeah, I just wish Peter would have put a little more effort into it. But, yeah, for the most part, I mean, I will say I like the strings on there though. Like, when it goes to like the, I lay my foot and the strings like,
yeah.
All right, Going Blind. So definitely staying with that unplugged feel. This is number 5 for me. What's up, Carolina? So Going Blind. This one felt almost like a carbon copy of the unplugged version, other than having a little bit of the ensemble in there. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I felt like, Gene still sang it just as good. Again, he was doing those, demo version of the vocals, which was always fun to hear. I thought it was a great performance of this song. Not sure if I'd take this over the unplugged version or not. Maybe I kind of hold them both in the same, maybe they're equal. So I guess I could take either one or be happy with it. So, so what was that? Yeah, number 5. So very good.
Nice. 14 for me on this one. I have a very similar feeling towards this song as I do Forever. I wouldn't at all put this against the MTV version, me personally. And I think it has a lot to do with Peter's drumming, again, versus the way Eric Singer played it on MTV. I really liked a lot of the little bits that Eric put into this on the MTV version. Now, Peter's drums on the original, obviously, they're fine. They're great. But here, I feel like he's simplified them to a point where, again, it just kind of hurts the dynamics. I love having the string ensemble in there, but I miss some of the cool little bits that Eric played on the MTV version, and I even miss some of the bits that Peter did on the Hotter Than Hell version.
Right. And that was always kind of a big thing, even with the reunion, is noticing how much Peter changed and like his own stuff that he was like playing. I don't want to say half-assed because I don't know if it was purposely done or, whatever the case is. But yes, he was playing a lot of things different and missing different fills that he did on the albums that were like almost signature sometimes, but he wasn't doing them. And it's like, oh, come on, Peter, Right.
And again, like I want to make sure I acknowledge, I mean, the dude was almost 60 at this point. Like if I say he wasn't physically capable of playing it, I don't personally mean that as really an insult. He's freaking 60.
Yeah. Yeah. And the guy still had a great voice on him, still does.
Yeah.
I mean, Carolina, we're doing our normal ranking for a live 4. So if you got time, man, I know there's a lot of songs, but if you don't mind getting your rankings over to us, we'll be glad to add them in. All right, so we go into Sure Know Something. This one was number 11. And, again, I felt like it was pretty similar to the unplugged version again. Of course, little differences, but again, not bad. And I don't really I almost want to say straightforward version, but it's not like this was normally performed live. And but kind of along that version of what they did on Unplugged, they pretty much did it the same way. And again, you just get that little added extra of the ensemble that adds more life to the song. And
definitely, yeah. Number 5 for me on this one, basically for the same reason. I always liked the version of MTV Unplugged, and this one is basically that plus the ensemble, and I especially enjoyed the ensemble's contributions to the song. I thought they matched it almost better than a lot of the other ones.
True. All right, and then rounding up the set here with the ensemble, we have Shandy, which wasn't really surprised they did this one, being in Australia. This one will always seem like one of the big hits in Australia that they always pull out. Let me look at my ranking. That would help. Number 4 on this one. And, yeah, cool to hear. Kind of weird to, hear Peter literally playing the song this time and instead of what the album is that, is supposed to be Peter, that obviously we all know now. But kind of funny to hear him finally play it, though, after all those years, and it's just weird how things come full circle like that. And, and that was a song that Eric Carr, that was part of his audition, was, singing along to it and playing it. And yeah, just kind of cool to hear that song included that way. But as far as, again, sticking to the show format, yeah, it was done really well. The ensemble thing, very cool. But again, to kind of close out the set with that, a bit weird, but whatever. I guess it didn't matter.
Right. Probably specifically because they were in Australia, that had to have been whoa, they're doing that one. Yeah.
Whoa, mate.
Yeah. Yes. Number 3 for me. Yes. Geez, I am so glad they revived the song for this show. Now, I mean, as I understand, they usually pulled this one out of the closet when they went to Australia, but especially for this, the orchestra gives it that extra bit of interest. Paul sounds great when he's singing it. The acoustic version matches this song really well. And I hate to keep harping on Peter, but even Peter's just okay drumming works pretty much for this song and doesn't hurt it. I think I wouldn't have that opinion if not for the ensemble, but it all works together really well for this particular version.
Agreed. All right. So we take another break and then we come back, and now we have the full-blown show with the full orchestra and everything. So the rest from here on out is all of that. So we open it up with none other than Detroit Rock City, which is a pretty smart move to make. And this, again, kind of touching on the polls from earlier, this is my number 1. I really was not expecting that on this list, and I don't remember what I made number 1 last time, but I was totally expecting something else to be number 1. And you know what? This time it just really caught me more, paying more attention to the orchestra, and I think that's kind of what did it. I just love, during the like the dun, 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 and the way the orchestra's going right with it. And I love the part where it's getting ready to go into the solo, and Peter's doing the drum thing, and you hear they're just kind of going dun, 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 or whatever along with it, kind of like a little, like, I don't know what you would call that, like I don't know, like adding almost like a little like feeling to it or something, like anticipation type thing, like what's this, like what are they doing here? And I just thought that was really cool. They just totally like basically wrote a whole new section to put on that song that was all these years old at that time, and it just kind of made it different. And it really struck me this time. And I like this version. Again, I'll probably still take Alive 2 over all the other live versions, but I would probably take this one even over the Alive 3 version at this point, but that's a good version too. So.
Yeah, number 8 for me on this one. Boy, am I glad that they sped it up a tad as they got into the song.
Yeah.
This version starts like Eric Carr era speed. Um, I like this one, but I'm a bit on the fence about some of the orchestra parts. Definitely not all of them. There are some really cool bits in this, but there were just a few places where I kind of wish it would have stayed more out of the way. There was a couple of things they played, for example, during the verses where it's normally just the bass thing, where they just played something totally different over top that. It covered the bass thing entirely and just hit me wrong in the moment. And there was a couple of bits during the double guitar solo that were like that too, where I was like, "Oh, come on, the guitar solo! You can't cover this guitar solo."
Nah, they didn't like that. uh,
That's all I had to say anyway.
I wish Be Live would quit doing a 3-second countdown to add your camera because it would be so much quicker.
Yeah, it is kind of weird.
Because then you click it and you got to sit here and wait for it to count down. Even it's like, all right, we've waited enough. Very now that I'm looking at it again, very Destroyer heavy set here for the orchestra piece. The first 5 songs from Destroyer. Basically more than half the album there. So
yeah,
very interesting. But so we go into King of the Nighttime World again, kind of like Alive 2. So we kind of got both Alive 1 and Alive 2, first and second songs going on here. This is number 10. I love this song. I've always loved it. It's so like simple but yet fun at the same time. I enjoy playing the song. I've always loved listening to it. I love Gene's bass line that comes in on the second verse, and and then obviously the orchestra adds a lot to this as well, and it just really made it sound bigger, to be honest. Just made it sound even more epic than it ever did sound, and just a great version here.
Agreed. Yeah, this came in at number 4 for me this time. King of the Nighttime World is becoming one of my favorite Kiss songs, just one of the less obvious ones, you know what I mean? Just pretty much for all the reasons you just said. I've always loved this guitar solo too. The song just is catchy and it's fun. And this was another one that I specifically felt like the orchestra fit very well.
Yes.
Whereas, in Detroit, I complained a little bit about it, felt like it got in the way occasionally. This one, it just felt absolutely perfect, like it had been there all along.
So that's one thing Ezra didn't think of for the album.
Right.
Next up is Do You Love Me? 19. I don't know. I kind of could have done without this one, but I mean, I understand why they put it in here because, basically I think the whole section more towards the end of the song where it breaks down to that, I think that's kind of what made this song, fit on the set for the orchestra thing. And yeah, that does sound good, but as far as the whole rest of the song itself, kind of boring. And again, like, to bring up Peter, the just how like slow and tight he plays it too tight, I always feel. And that whole intro just doesn't have that kind of balls to it like the old versions had, where he's playing it faster and the hi-hat's more open and everything. It's always bothered me, the way Peter played that on Reunion and on just how it's too like tight and slow, and it's like so that's probably one of the main reasons too that I picked on it so much, and it came in. Like I say, I could have done without it. They could have just maybe threw this on the first set if they had to play it, and then maybe replace that with Lick It Up or something. But that would have been my choice.
Yeah, for sure. Number 12 for me, and yeah, it's the only really cool bit was that ending, without a doubt. And then my other, of course, the big complaint is the way it starts. Man, those drums are just so painfully electronic samples.
Yeah.
And it doesn't shine through quite so bad when the stuff's on top of it. But when you get an intro like this where it's just him, it's like, oh God, were the acoustic mic tracks really that weak that even on the recording they couldn't use it? You know, oh man, yeah. So it just kind of irked me for most of the song. But even that couldn't get in the way of how cool the ending bit was with the orchestra. That bit was written for something like that.
Right. See, when I think of "Do You Love Me Live," my first thought always goes to that Madison Square Garden show from I believe it's Rock and Roll Over tour, and I believe it's the version that's on the "Kiss My Ass" video. To me, that's what I always think of when I think of "Do You Love Me Live," because it's just got that power and the feel to it, and the energy. I love the way Gene's doing his background vocal in the chorus, and it's just got that power to it, and it just lost that in those reunion years and on,
Right.
Now I'll give them a little credit. Like nowadays, it sounds a little better, with Eric playing it, but it's still a little slowed down even to this point than what it used to be. So,
right.
All right, so we go to Shout It Out Loud. This was number 21, so dead last for me. This is another one that I was just like, I don't know. I don't really think the orchestra did anything special for this song. It just felt like it was sort of forced, and we got to include this song because it's Shout It Out Loud. It's one of the big anthems, and again, I think they should have done it without the orchestra. They should have just done it on the first set if they had to play this. And I honestly just kind of zoned out on this song. I can't really remember much of anything that the orchestra did do on this, to be honest.
Yeah, completely. Absolutely. Number 11 for me, but yeah, literally the one note I have is somehow managed to be pretty straightforward even with the orchestra. That's weird. We both had that same idea. It's not, and again, like it's not bad. It's a good version of Shout It Out Loud. It's just not, for having an orchestra on it, you'd think it'd be a little bit more fancy.
Yeah, it seems like they could have come up with something a lot cooler, and like why couldn't have they just created some little like middle section or something that would have really made the orchestra stand out? Why not?
Yeah.
Next up is God of Thunder, number 13. One of my biggest gripes about the way they, I guess, laid out this album when it comes to the vinyl side, it makes no sense because, like, after what the hell is that song we just talked about? Shout It Out Loud. The side of the record's getting ready to end, but you start hearing the beginnings of Gene's bass, doing his whole God of Thunder thing.
Yeah.
And so you just kind of hear that, and then it fades out. So then you got to turn the record over for the next side, and then you get the beginning of God of Thunder, where I believe it just starts with him. Oh yeah, and it's like, why not just put that on the same side? Go ahead and fade it before that, and then put that little intro piece on there. Not to mention we didn't even get the any of the solos on this version. I'm trying to remember, like, did Peter and Tommy even do solos during the actual show? I feel like they did.
I don't.
But maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. But if so, because I haven't watched the DVD and I don't know how long, but if they did do the solos, they definitely cut them out on the album. But so anyway, that's kind of my big gripe as far as the way they laid it out on the vinyl side of things. I don't know if they fixed that on like those 2014 reissues or whatever, but yeah, it just kind of irked me on that. But other than that, pretty good version. Even though if they edited out the solo, or if they just didn't do the solo, it worked out. I liked how they just kept the song going at the point that it would normally break down, and it goes right back. So I felt like they did a good job with that. And the orchestra, I felt like maybe they could have made it sound a little darker than what they did. It almost, I don't know. I mean, it was still a pretty decent version, but I don't know. It's definitely not a version that I would go to. I would probably still stick with the Live 2, to be honest.
Yeah. I did 7 on this one. I've pretty often complained that recordings of this song I never felt like really did it justice. And I don't know that this one really reaches it either, but I felt this was another one that benefited well from the orchestra, and the production felt appropriately heavy, at least, which is an issue I've always had with this song, was that it feels like it should be a heavy song, and it doesn't quite come across that way. I think the orchestra filled it out in a way that it kind of helped that. However, I feel like Gene sang it weird on this version, like rhythmically speaking. There were points where it felt like the music was trying to push faster than what Peter was playing, but there were even more points than that where it felt like Gene was singing slower than everybody else was playing. So I don't know what was going on there, if they were, falling kind of in and out of time with the orchestra maybe, and everybody was kind of trying to fix it in a different way, or if it's just my imagination entirely. I don't know. Either way, so that hurts it a little, that I feel like the timings were a little funky, but I did enjoy how the orchestra filled it out.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe there was trouble hearing or something, like with the earpieces or something at that point or what, but I will say that was one song that Peter's, kind of slower method of drumming at that point does kind of fit the song better a little bit. It just kind of does give it a little more of a heavy feel in a way.
Yeah.
The way he plays it a little slower on that.
And honestly, that little breakdown piece where he's just kind of doing his own thing while they keep playing the riff, he did a really good job with that on this one.
Yeah, yeah. Another version that sticks out, to jump like completely off subject real quick. It was when this would have been before Symphony. I'm thinking like 2001 or whatever, let's say, because I know Ace was still with them, and they appeared on WCW Monday Nitro, a wrestling show, and they played God of Thunder. And yeah, they were playing to a pre-recorded version, which was a new recording. But even on that version, yeah, Peter, like on that part, was doing some cool things on the drums, and it just turned out really cool, I thought.
Nice.
All right, so we go to Love Gun, number 6. Again, I'm just going to use the words, pretty straightforward. And I know, again, it could be like, what do you mean? Because there's an orchestra on it. But other than that, I mean, it's basically the same old thing. It's just they put some strings on it, and not bad though. Definitely better versions out there, but they did it justice.
Yeah, definitely agreed. Number 10 for me. It was an okay version. Orchestra was cool. I did feel like the orchestra was mixed a little louder on this one too. Or maybe I was just sitting too close to the speaker on the left. There were a couple of times where the horns would just crescendo this certain note, and it was just hitting me the wrong way. And I'm like, geez. All right, we get it. But yeah, still not a bad version of the song.
Yeah. All right. Black Diamond. Number 9. Again, another great performance. Peter sounds great on this version. I like, because some people think that, towards the end of the song, when they do the, Eric likes to say, Gino's got you under his thumb or whatever. A lot of people don't realize Peter is the one that started doing that, not Eric. Because you can definitely hear Peter on this record doing it. Paulie's got you under that thumb, and kind of a cool tidbit, a little bit of a trivia thing sometimes. But other than that, yeah, very cool version. The orchestra made this song even better, which is like hard to believe that that's possible, but it definitely worked good on this song. Yeah, just very, very cool. Again, just Peter just sounded so good. So
Yeah, much to even my own surprise, this is number one for me.
Hmm.
Of course, I've always liked this song anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah, just everything about it sounded cool. Paul's clean tone in the beginning, all of the vocals when they're doing the oohs are just in absolute perfect pitch. Paul says hit it, and that when that hit comes in with everybody in the orchestra, I mean, I went back in the chair like, holy crap! It just sounded huge. It was
Yeah.
monstrous, and I think I can say this is my favorite contribution from the orchestra on this album, hands down. I've said on a few of the songs that I liked what they added, but this one specifically, the orchestra just made it epic. An already really cool, fairly epic song, a whole new level of epic with that orchestra just going nuts on it. And I completely agree. Peter's voice sounded awesome on this.
Oh yeah, that was another thing. Like as soon as he kicked in with his vocals, and I mean even the hit it that you hear, on the little 3 count, that was cool. And then, but when he kicks in full blown with them vocals, this is like it sounded damn near like alive all over again.
Mm-hmm.
The way he was singing that song.
Yeah.
That's one thing about Peter is I'll say is he always owned that song when it came time for that song. He definitely gave his all.
Yeah.
Not that he was half-assing the rest. I don't want to have anybody put words in my mouth, but when it came to that song especially, yeah, he definitely gave it his all. Thanks for your picks there, Scott. We'll get all those added in, and then give us an overall rating too, if you don't mind. All right, just a couple more songs here. Next up is Great Expectations. Again, a total shocker. I was so excited to see that they played this song back, when this first came out. This is number 3. I know a lot of people hate on this song, the album version, or even this. I love it. I was seriously like about ready to say this was my number 1, but I couldn't overlook Deuce, and then that Detroit Rock City just caught me off guard. But I just love this. I mean, for one, we're getting that first time performance of a song that they had never performed live. Then you got Gene doing the demo version of the vocals, which I preferred anyway. I wish he had kept them like that on the album, because it makes it sound more like you're after the whole band, not just him. They bring out the kids choir or whatever they are, and that added a whole new element to it, which was super cool. Yeah, I mean, it was just such a cool moment. I'm sure they were probably out of all the songs they decided to play on that show, I bet you that was the one song that they were the most nervous about. How are people going to react? And if you watch the video, you could tell after it's over, they just kind of have this like, we did it look, and it went well, and they were definitely letting the kids ham it up. They definitely did a great job too, and yeah, I love this version. It's very cool.
Yeah. By the way, that was your number 1 last time we did this.
Okay. See, it almost was again.
Yeah. This is number 2 for me. And again, surprise even to me. I've been fairly vocal about this song not being one of my favorite Kiss songs. This is always bottom of my list on Destroyer. I don't like the studio version. I don't think the song fits Destroyer very well either. But this one, man, I'm glad they put it on the set list, because they don't do stuff like this anymore. They don't pull stuff out of the hat that you're not expecting at a normal show. And if there was ever a time to perform this song, it was obviously this one. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and I'm so glad that they took it. And yeah, this version is really cool with the live orchestra. Again, the arrangement isn't exactly the same as it is on Destroyer, so it gives it that unique feel. Like you said, Gene's lyrics are different. The production is different, and it fits everything really well. And even though I'm not a huge fan of the song in general, I really enjoyed hearing it here just because it's so unexpected. This is the one glaring in an otherwise fairly typical set list,
Yeah. And that's one thing I love about this show is this, and like basically the Rock the Nation DVD or the whole tour, those are probably the two biggest points in history now that you can look and say, wow, they went out on a limb and pulled out some, heavy hitters on this one. And like you said, that's probably the last time they've ever done that was the Rock the Nation tour.
Yeah.
And, it's well, and, people will be like, oh, what about the cruise? Well, that's the cruise. It's not a full tour. And,
yeah,
not to get into all that again, we know they're dumb excuses for all that. But yeah, that's one thing that made this show so special because, even at the time, like something like Forever was kind of a shock at the time. We really hadn't heard Forever since, the Alive 3 stuff. And, there was a couple songs that were a little bit of a surprise at the time. Now, it may seem a little more common, but at the time, I remember like, wow, cool, they're pulling this out, and whoa, sure, Shandy, like, wow.
Definitely.
Okay. I don't know why I felt like that was the last song for some reason. We got two left.
I wish it had been.
We got "I Was Made for Loving You" next, number 7. This was another good performance too. The orchestra definitely added to this one, and it was a good sounding version. All the vocals and harmony sounded great. Just another good version. Maybe I would have personally moved it up a little bit more in the set instead of doing it next to last. But again, the setting of the concert, the song was a little bit bigger over there, I guess, and I guess it kind of makes sense. And I don't know, maybe the band themselves felt like that this was, one of the best songs that translated with the orchestra. So obviously they couldn't do it dead last, so let's put it next to last. I don't know, I'm just assuming.
Yeah, you gotta wonder. Number 9 for me. I feel kind of the same way towards like Love Gun. It was another good version, just nothing specifically jumped out. Strings added some cool stuff here and there, but nothing again that like kind of jumped out as, oh, cool,
Right. All right, so heading into the final track, obviously it's Rock and Roll All Night. It comes in at number 16. Nothing too special again, unfortunately. Not that it's a bad version, but obviously at this point with Alive and even Alive 3 and I would, well, even Unplugged for that matter, I'd probably take all 3 of those versions over this one, to be honest. And but like I said, obviously they had to do this last because it's Rock and Roll All Night, instead of putting something else in that spot. But it's not horrible, but definitely not my favorite live version. And it was pretty common way to end the show, but it is what it is.
Yeah. 13 for me. Yep. This was the only one that the orchestra was on that like I really wish it hadn't been. I did not like what the orchestra added this one. Again, it just felt like it was getting in the way sometimes. I don't know. It wasn't bad, but yeah, it was the obvious one to end the show with. Good performance from Kiss, but the orchestra, it just didn't hit me right. So 13.
Yeah, it would have been kind of cool if they had just, the orchestra kind of, had their big bow and went away, and then they just played this just like, the first set where it was just Kiss, and, maybe still let the orchestra members be out there as far as like dancing around on stage and, singing backups, stuff, just kind of a fun little atmosphere. But instead of, doing the full orchestral thing with them, I think maybe that would have served this song a little better, but who knows?
Right.
It's a wonder they never done a second one. So
yeah, it is kind of surprising.
It's like, hey, Metallica has by now, so it's time for Kiss to do a second one.
Yes. Real quick before you're done.
Well, that wraps up the album here. So we'll go into our overall rankings. I see Carolina gave it a 6. I give this one an 8. Like I said at the beginning of the show, this keeps growing on me the more I listen to it. It really is a good fun show to listen to. Again, it's weird. It's kind of weird for me to say some of these things because when it comes to this lineup, I've said it before, it's my least favorite lineup that Kiss has ever had. The Peter and Tommy thing, I just felt like they didn't mesh as well as obviously Peter and Ace, or Tommy and Eric, or even Ace and Eric for that matter, Eric Singer. So, and again, I saw this lineup live as well, and so I definitely have, I've heard it with that live ear too, and wasn't too impressed. So it's kind of weird, but even though I say that, but yeah, I feel like they sound good on this performance though. Sometimes I have to remind myself that it's Tommy on there, not Ace, because you sometimes you want to think that it's those original 4 guys, especially when you hear Peter. But yeah, I love the risks that they took with some of the songs, and really, I guess for the whole show in general was sort of a risk. Doing the orchestra thing, how's it gonna sound? How's the fans gonna take to it? All that stuff. Yeah, it's like there was a little bit of that, darn, because like I said before, there was that glimmer of hope that maybe Ace would be involved again, and so that was a bit of a bummer that he wasn't involved, but because then I think of songs like maybe Shock Me or something that could have sounded cool with the orchestra, and 2000 Man or whatever, stuff like that. Yeah, but like I said, it really grows on me the more I hear it, and it makes me want to pop the video in and give that a watch again, let alone the documentary about the whole making leading up to it. That's interesting too. So yeah, it's just a pretty good period in history, even though it's, again, not my favorite lineup, but man, they, for whatever reason, they sound good on this version, on this album though. So pretty solid 8 for me this time.
Nice. Oh yeah, man, Ronnie's got a great point there.
Oh yeah, God Gave Rock and Roll. Yeah. Good point, man. That one definitely would have sounded cool too.
I don't know that I would have wanted to hear Peter play it, honestly, but I mean, you're right, the orchestra. I went with 5 on this one. Honestly, I was really excited to listen to this album again today, and it didn't quite meet the expectation of my memory. I do really appreciate at least but the first 6 songs, I think. I like watching the DVD of this concert way more than I do like listening to the CD. The added visual takes anything that was boring and throws it in the trash. So much of the set list is typical Kiss. And then not having the orchestra on those first few songs makes it, I don't know, kind of boring to get through. Maybe that's just me, but like, I didn't need to hear Let Me Go Rock and Roll again, or Strutter especially again. Deuce I could listen to all the time. I don't care. But Strutter, like I said earlier, none of these are bad renditions. If you pop this album in and you've never heard Kiss before, I don't think that's a bad thing. They're still good versions of the songs. It's just, did we need another version that didn't have something special like the orchestra?
Exactly.
You know what? I don't care what anyone says. Tommy does an amazing job playing the guitar parts. Today, he plays them good, and he played them good here on these songs. He may be copying Ace's style, but dang it, that's what this era called for those songs to be played the way they were originally written and recorded. And I'm sorry, maybe it's just my personal opinion, but as Ace proved on the Reunion, Psycho, and Farewell tours, sometimes he just could not nail it. He couldn't nail the precision he had when he was younger, and kind of the same as with Peter. He's getting up there. He did a lot of dumb crap in the 70s and the 80s. In a way, it's hard to blame him, but also, just me personally, I would rather hear the parts played right and he wasn't doing that. So I really, really appreciate Tommy for that today, and also clear back to this era, how well he played those parts just absolutely perfectly. He nailed the feel Ace had in the early days. I just really appreciate that. And
go ahead. I didn't want to cut you off.
Okay. In that kind of same vein, I got to hand it to Peter here as well. I harped on him, and I'm going to for another bit. More than a few times on this album, his playing is absolutely lackluster. Anytime
Oh. 3, 2, 1.
Live was like, you take that back. So anytime the drums are by themselves, they sound fake thanks to the trigger samples. However, having said that, the guy is almost 60 at this point. I think he was 58 in this concert. Some of the songs he's trying to replicate parts he didn't even play in the first place, let alone being old enough to have trouble playing his own parts. So honestly, I would have rather had Eric Singer on this. I think this concert would have been really cool with the current lineup of Eric and Tommy.
Right.
But I appreciate what Peter did here. I appreciate that he, paid homage to Eric by playing some of the songs that weren't his. And completely honestly, I wish they had utilized Peter the way they utilized the orchestra to play a song like Great Expectations. I wish they had put at least one more Peter lead vocal song on there. He was there. Do Strange Ways. How cool would that have been with the orchestra?
Hard Luck Woman.
Yeah, so many opportunities. He was there. They might as well let him do something. And then finally, the orchestra parts are really cool. That's why the CD is so special. The orchestra is awesome. David Campbell did a great job doing the arrangements on these. And it's the only reason I'd ever even put this album on, honestly, is because of that orchestra. I enjoy hearing it, but also, I admit I don't personally feel like the orchestra fits the Kiss songs as well as, say, the orchestra fit the Metallica songs on S&M. It felt a little more natural on the S&M. Now, I haven't seen S&M 2, but at least on the first one, it felt natural. And here it felt okay, but not quite the same. So all in all, I'm really glad we have it, but it's an easily overlooked installment in their discography and the Alive chronology. And for me, that's just fine.
Do we know who did S&M 2? Because I know it wasn't the same guy.
No.
He passed away.
Yeah, Michael Kamen passed away. I'm actually not sure.
And, I'm not taking anything away from David Campbell because obviously he's brilliant and all that, but I'm just curious, like, what maybe it would have sounded like if, say, Michael Kamen had done Kiss right after he did Metallica,
I would really be curious, yeah.
How much different would it have sounded, or what would he have added? And again, I'm not trying to take away from, David Campbell or anything like that, but
right.
And yeah, with Tommy, it's like, and again, I'm not trying to bash on Tommy, but when I say this is I think at that point though, he was still looked at as a fill-in instead of an actual member yet, because there was still kind of that back and forth, maybe Ace will come back for this or back for that, whatever. Same with Eric Singer. Shit. I remember that show I went to that I saw this lineup. I remember I didn't know if it would be Ace or not until they got on stage, and I looked and I'm like, no, that's not Ace.
Yeah.
Because that's how it felt at that time. It felt like they were just kind of jumping in and out, just like with Peter, and it's just crazy,
Yeah, it's disappointing that they had to worry about that sort of thing.
Yeah, and it probably would have been Eric Singer had it not been for the clause that they had for the tour, but then at the same time, it's like I am glad that we had Peter in a lot of ways because of some of the vocal stuff, but then like I said too, it's like, oh, we missed out on some of the Ace songs that would have sounded cool had Ace been involved too. So it kind of goes both ways. I guess either way you go, it's a double-edged sword. But
right. By the way, Edwin Outwater conducted the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra on S&M 2, and the arrangements were by Bruce Coughlin, and also for any songs they repeated from SNM1, they used the original Michael Kamen arrangement.
Oh, cool. I'm not familiar with that guy, so.
Me neither.
All right. You ready for the final tallies, and then we'll do our confessions? Or no? Or do you still need time?
Nope, I got him ready.
All right. Go ahead and start that. I'm going to go take a quick B-room break.
Nice. All right, so we got a whole bunch of votes tallied in here. Of course, you've just seen us two. We've also got votes from Steve McGowan. He gave this album a 9 out of 10 in his top 3. God of Thunder, Shandy, and Black Diamond. We got votes from Rochelle McGowan. She gave this a perfect 10 out of 10. Her top 3 were Strutter, Psycho Circus, and Black Diamond. We're counting votes from the last time we reviewed this album. So last time I gave this album a 6.5, and my top 3 were Black Diamond, Love Gun, and Shandy. Eli gave this album a 6 last time, and his top 3 were Forever, Beth, and Great Expectations. My dad ranked last time, gave this a 6. His top 3 were, let's see, Shout It Out Loud, Sure Know Something, and Rock and Roll All Night. Steve McGowan ranked this last time an 8, and his top 3 were Beth, God of Thunder, and Black Diamond. RJ Jordan last time ranked this a 6 out of 10, and his top 3 were King of the Nighttime World. Where is number 2?
Not true.
Dang it, where is number 2?
Number 2. Who does number 2 work for?
There it is, Shout It Out Loud, and his number 1 was Going Blind. Rochelle McGowan ranked this last time a perfect 10, just like this time, and her top 3 were Psycho Circus, I Was Made for Loving You, and Black Diamond. Jay Rucker last time gave this a 6.5 out of 10, and his top 3 were God of Thunder, Deuce, and Let Me Go Rock and Roll. Brad Holderman gave this an 8 out of 10. Robbie Stars gave this an 8 out of 10. We've also got Scott, Carolina Hard Rocks, in there. He gave this an album a 6. And his top 3, God of Thunder, Detroit Rock City, and Do You Love Me. Eli, last time, you had Forever in number 3. What's wrong with you?
I did.
You did.
I was in an emotional state.
Yeah, apparently.
It was that time of the month.
All right, so putting all of this together, we came up with the final tallies. A few surprises I did not expect at all. In last place, number 21 for this time, Lick It Up. In 20th place, Rock and Roll All Night, believe it or not. 19th place, Do You Love Me? 18th place, Shout It Out Loud. In 17th place, Let Me Go Rock and Roll. In 16th place, I've misplaced the number 16. Here we go, Calling Dr. Love. In 15th, Strutter. In 14th place, Psycho Circus. In 13th place, Great Expectations. Wow, that's kind of low.
Damn.
12th place, Deuce. In 11th place, Forever. In 10th place, Going Blind. In 9th place, King of the Nighttime World. 8th place, Detroit Rock City. In 7th place, Shandy. In 6th place, Love Gun. In 5th place, Beth. Making our top 4 for this album this time around. In 4th place, God of Thunder. In 3rd place, I Was Made for Loving You. Didn't see that coming. In 2nd place, Sure Know Something. Didn't see that coming. And in 1st place by a landslide, Black Diamond. This did end up with a 7.5 average overall, too, which is pretty high. That puts it right on par with Asylum. It puts it 1 point below Psycho Circus, right on par with Carnival of Souls. A lot higher up on the list than I would have expected as far as average.
Wow. taking a quick peek at David Campbell, go figure he worked with Metallica.
Oh, did he?
He did the strings on Death Magnetic.
Huh.
And another notable one I noticed, he did the strings on Rush's Clockwork Angels album.
Nice.
Which definitely explains why that song "The Garden" is so amazing, because those string section in that song is just like, wow.
Yeah. I always loved that whole album. A surprising knock it out of the park from Rush so late in the game.
Yeah, hell of a last album.
Yeah.
All right, we got a true confession time coming in here, so let's get into that.
Won't take it, please.
All right, true confession time. We got one here from Scott, Carolina, real quick. He thinks it's a lackluster performance and not their finest moment. Also, not a true confession, but something else he just chimed in here. He's seen the reunion tour twice, farewell tour 3 times. Ace Frehley did a phenomenal job, never missed a lick. So I don't know who would be spreading that.
I would imagine you're letting your nostalgia get in the way of your ears.
True confession for me. Well, what have I not said? Again, okay, I'm glad that, like we said, I'm glad this was a live 4. I do wish it was the original 4 on this instead. It would have, to me, it was like, on paper, when I first heard about this thing, it just immediately sounded like, okay, this is meant for the original 4. This is a special moment for the band. It's going to go down in history. It needs to be the original 4. I felt like that would have definitely added more to it. Other than that, just like I said, not my favorite lineup, so that ties in again. And had things been different, it probably would have went the way we all wanted it to have happened. But unfortunately, contracts and all that crap came into the band at the time and just kind of ruined it all. And again, it's not like, oh, we got a horrible album because of it, because at the same time, like I said, even though it's not my favorite lineup, this album is amazing. It grows on me again, and they sound great on here. They sound pretty tight, and it was a cool moment. And it's like I said, it's been so long now, hard to believe, but it's like, okay, let's get another one. Let's get a part 2. You ain't got to do it in full makeup and everything. Do it completely stripped down. And another thing I think that would have been cool is had they had kind of went a la Unplugged and brought out the members of the family and brought Bruce back out and Eric and at least those 2, I guess, at the time, and then kind of do another Unplugged type thing where they all played a couple songs or something like that at the end. I think that would have made the show even more memorable too, to this day. So yeah, that's really all I got for this one.
Yeah. I've always been really interested in the Kiss costumes, seeing their progression throughout the ages. And I thought it was really cool that when they came back on the reunion tour, they were wearing the Love Gun outfits. I always loved those, especially Ace's. Ace's Love Gun outfit is so freaking cool.
Yeah.
And I think we brought this up last time when we did Psycho Circus. It was weird that they brought the Destroyer costumes back, only slightly changed for that. It would have been cooler if they came up with new ones. And it was in the same vein, it was interesting to see them pull the Alive costumes back out for this. However, I was a bit disappointed. It was cool that they're revisiting early costumes, but just me personally, I didn't feel like the more simplistic getup was epic enough for the stage show. the simple, easy costumes made more sense back in the early days when the shows were on a bit of a smaller scale. But now you got the huge multi-million-dollar stage show and the simple costumes. I don't know. It certainly wasn't a game changer. It certainly wasn't like, oh man, those suck. But it would have been, I feel like it would have looked a little cooler if they were still in the Destroyer Psycho Circus outfits, or even the Love Gun reunion outfits, or again, if they had created something new for Psycho. Still wearing that, yeah.
Yeah, because it's like we said, new album, new costumes. That's the way it used to be.
Right.
And this time, instead of moving more forward, they went backwards with the costumes. And then really, like, Jeans isn't really even the Alive costume. It's more of a version, but updated,
like,
things added to it.
Based on the Live costume. But yeah, still very simplistic. And they were still wearing that when they did the Rock the Nation tour right after this as well, the Alive costumes. And
that is true.
Yeah, again, it's not a deal breaker, but it's just they feel too simplistic for as huge as the stage show was at that point.
Yeah, not a big fan of the way Gene looked in that costume, especially those boots. I always felt like those boots were a bit hacky.
Yeah, coming out of the dragon boots.
And especially the Psycho Circus outfit. Now that I look back at videos or pictures of that, I don't like how he looked in that. And I'm not a fan of when Peter started wearing his makeup more square-like there.
Right, yeah.
Instead of how it was shaped. I'm not a big fan of that either, But it is what it is. And
I 100% admit that's, for me, it is 100% nitpicky, but it's not a deal breaker, but it's one of those things.
And that's what us diehards do. Yeah, we'll tend to nitpick things like that, but that's just the way it is,
Right. Right.
And, maybe part of the reason they decided to wear these was, again, with Tommy filling in at the time. So they probably thought, maybe they figured, let's wear these different costumes instead of, the Destroyers, because that's, I guess, more Ace signature per se. Same with the Love Gun, obviously. So, yeah. But I don't think Tommy ever looked right in this costume either, to be honest.
Yeah.
His hair wasn't quite there at the time either. When you watch the show, he just kind of looks awkward compared to the way he does now. So.
Definitely.
But yeah. Well, all right. That wraps up Alive 4, the Symphony. Where the hell do we go from here?
Oh, geez. Yeah. You know what? I closed that and I am not sure. Let me look it up real quick. We are doing Sonic Boom next time.
I was wondering if that's where we were jumping straight to already.
Yep.
So we're closer to the end than I thought. So we just got Sonic Boom and Monster, and then our final mixture of all the other extra songs.
Right.
Which I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Ronnie, you're right though. Really going backwards, yeah. All right. Well, thank you all that tuned in and chatted with us. It was fun. So again, just to remind anyone that missed it, no show next week again. I'll be out of town, but again, the polls will be going up, so make sure you get your votes in. Get your votes in on the polls that just went up today, and make sure you get those votes in next week, and then obviously the following week once we're back for Sonic Boom. We will get updated on those. And of course, now that we're back on track with the discography, go ahead and leave your rankings and thoughts for Sonic Boom in the comments and on the Facebook page as well. And we appreciate all you guys for your support as always. So I guess until we'll see you here in a couple weeks for Sonic Boom, everyone take care, be safe. We'll see you then in a few weeks. Later.